The band is back together. Hello.
We're doing it. You're back in the US.
I know, and you've got a free minute in your schedule for two people who are going like 100 miles an hour. And I'm so jet lagged and so sleep deprived. I mean, today in 900 square feet, making fun of the Big Ten having a player of the week or players of the week. I said, there were only two Big Ten schools that played. And of course, there were three. But, it's not the point. I mean, players of the week without everybody playing. But, the ACC had it too. So I'm going to start with this for you. In 1965, 66, freshmen weren't eligible in college basketball. And the joke was that UCLA was number one in the country, but number two on campus because a team that had a freshman class that included Lou Alcindor, who later became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, was so good they would beat the eventual national champions, you know, in their games. Now, I'm not saying that's Nebraska this year because their bench is good, really, really good, but their first team's better. But that's the deepest, most talented team I've ever seen. And I've asked some historians, and no one can seem to find in their memory a team that had that much talent and could afford that many injuries.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I actually had someone ask me yesterday how many injuries would it take to take out Nebraska? And I was like, one, horrible question, but like I understand what you mean. And I was going through the roster and it's like, honestly, I agree, it's one of the best teams that I think we've ever seen come out of the gates in August. Nebraska right now looks like they're in midseason form. They look like a team that's already been through 2 months of a season, gearing up for the postseason. But the scary thing about them right now is that they're completely healthy and they're fresh and they're jumping high and they're hitting hard, and that midseason fatigue hasn't set in. So thinking about what this team is going to look like come November, even come December, I say this every year, but I just, I'm sure one or two teams are going to get them. But I would be shocked if Nebraska didn't win a title this year with the group that they have because it's theirs to lose.
Well, I think that it's all the elements are certainly in place. To suggest that they would go undefeated, I think, is really, really tough, especially in the
Yeah.
Big. And they play and then they play a very challenging pre-conference schedule as well. But to the point, like you look at them and you go, well, what if something happened to the setter Bergen Riley, who's really good? By the way, I went up to her hometown of Sioux Falls, South Dakota,
Yeah.
on Monday. Also, the hometown of her sister, who played college volleyball, and Taryn Cloth, now Taryn Brasher of the USA Olympic volleyball tandem with Kristen Nuss. Random, but you know,
Important.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where it was 49 degrees yesterday at 6 in the morning when I started to drive back to Omaha to fly home. Anyway,
You
uh,
drove back to Omaha to fly home?
yeah, because the one
Oh,
it was 3 hours. I was 2.5 hours, and the one-way rental from Omaha, leaving a car in Sioux Falls, would have cost like $1 million. So it was just a lot simpler to just get back to Omaha and fly from
I
there.
hope you're not traveling for the next long time.
I'm going to Wisconsin this weekend to see what I think will be some great volleyball. I want to see Texas. Where are you going this weekend?
I'm in Nashville. Well, let's get to that later. Let's talk this past weekend first.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. See, that's why I said I have no business doing this because I can't dial in at all. Anyhow, but they say that like the freshman setter, uh,
Campbell Flynn.
Campbell Flynn, is that who it is?
Yep.
Yeah, they say she's fantastic. I haven't seen her. I
Yeah.
mean, like, the other freshman, Sigler was,
Stud.
and I mean, I could, and then look, remember how highly touted Skylar Pierce was?
Yep.
You know, they're just good. They're really good and really deep. Now, um, I'm not going to anoint them, so to speak. I can't predict that they'll win the national championship, but I would be very surprised if they're not in the mix right up till the end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how this team, I don't see how playing at their best, there isn't a team right now that's going to outplay Nebraska. Obviously, depends on how well they're playing on a day-to-day basis and all of that comes into it. Again, this looks like a team that I'm going to take in any single matchup, but yeah, I'm sure they're going to take one, two, maybe, I
Yeah.
mean, probably not three, but
Oh,
say two,
look,
three losses during the regular season for sure. But the way that they look right now is it's crazy. And I know we've only seen a handful of teams play, but thinking about the last few years, there has not been a team that has looked like this in August.
well, and to the point though, it has the most high end talent, top to bottom,
Yep.
of any roster that anybody can remember. but they don't play the eventual national champions. They're not. It's not on their schedule.
You never know.
You
I
know,
think also the thing about Nebraska is because their bench is so deep, their practice gym is insane. When they're going up against in practice, any starter on the, quote, B side would be a starter at any other school in the country. So they're continuously playing incredibly high level volleyball during practice, which I think is something that maybe goes unnoticed for these teams of, the players that are on the bench are playing against the best team in the country constantly, and the best team in the country is playing a really good team on the other side. So they're just continuously sharpening up this program.
well, the toughest job that first year coach Danny Busboom Kelly may have is how do you keep all those good players who don't play happy?
Yeah, it's
Because
always, yeah.
that's a challenge, and that could go. All right, enough of the Nebraska gush fest, although they did look good. So I saw you. I got to Lincoln, Nebraska for the Sunday games. You were there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and talk about on fumes. By the end of Sunday, one Emily Ehman was in her white go-go boots, which were just fabulous. I took a picture of your boots, and I got to figure out if I can edit that in here at some point. But nonetheless, you what'd you take out of all six teams or that you saw?
Yeah, how many we saw 8 teams, and it's funny thinking back, I'm like, who the heck even played? It was like you said, I
I went
mean,
on Monday up
crazy
to Sioux
weekend.
Falls and saw Penn State, who looks very good, beat Kansas. Kansas is going to be fine, and
Yep.
Texas A&M and Minnesota, Texas A&M. So many good right sides right now in college volleyball. But Logan Lednicki for Texas A&M, her experiences in the national team gym where she hung out and was real tight with Olivia Babcock, the right side from Pittsburgh, who is being asked to do an awful lot. Awful
Yeah,
lot.
going through some of the teams, I mean, yeah, we can start with Pitt right now. I think they lost so many massive pieces to that team, especially from a setting standpoint. You take away Rachel Fairbanks, that changes massively the way this offense is ran. Dan Fisher brought in Brooke Mosier from Illinois, who's been setting the last few seasons, but she's just very inconsistent right now. And we saw that for Pitt. Obviously, taking 2 losses for a top three team in the country is not great. We've talked about this a lot. The rankings essentially mean nothing until conference play. I mean, you don't take a Pitt team that lost as many pieces as they did and say they're a top 5 team. They certainly don't look like a top 5 team. I think Olivia Babcock is obviously one of the best. I think she looked the best at least last week from what we've seen. And she needs help. She's got really young outsides that they kind of cycled through because they couldn't find consistency in some of the pieces. Blair Bayless was the sure starter and ended up getting pulled during the first match. And then you have 2 freshmen outside. So there's just a lot of moving pieces with Pitt that I think they're going to have to shore up. Florida looked good. Jordan Bird, the transfer from Texas, sat for 2 years behind, people like Logan Eggleston, Maddie Skinner. She had 17 kills against Stanford and then 23 against Pitt. That girl touches, I don't know what she touches, but it's got to be up near 11 feet. I mean, she is skying over everyone. Florida looked good. I think the biggest thing for the Gators right now is having Alexis Stuckey look back just fully healthy.
She
Last year
looks
she couldn't move
so
at all.
she looks so good. Her
She
hands
looked
are.
awesome.
You know what? She plays defense as good as
Yeah.
any setter in the game. She anticipates and she's in the right spot.
Well, last year that was the biggest thing for Stuckey was they couldn't play her in the back row because she literally couldn't move to the ball. She was fine in the front row, but she couldn't defend. And now she looks great defensively. Offensively, the connections are there, especially if that's really difficult with some new pieces. But yeah, I liked what we saw from Florida. Obviously, getting a win over Pitt in 5, a really gritty win, being down late, down 4 in set 4, fending off a match point, pushing 5 and winning was really cool. I think to see for a Florida team that obviously has a new head coach and they're trying to establish their identity. Took a tough loss to Stanford earlier in the week, but yeah, I liked what we saw from Florida. It was fun.
Yeah, but I was making a list because I would have lost the thought. But of those opposites that we saw, I mean, Kennedy Martin went from Florida to Penn State. She's had just a wonderful couple of matches.
Yeah,
The Italian pro for Nebraska had a low hitting
Adriano.
percentage, but still a lot of kills. And then Ali Czech, the transfer from Baylor, comes in, and
Yeah,
she was magnificent for Nebraska. Lednicki was just really, really, really good
yeah.
Monday night. And then Olivia Babcock, who was the reigning national player of the year. I mean, that's just 4 of the right sides that you saw in that tournament this weekend.
Yeah, well, I think another one to add to the list that people got to keep their eye on is Logan Parks, a freshman from Stanford who's playing both sides of the ball. And,
Good.
we talk about Coach Hamley has talked about, he says she's an absolute super freak. Like she is just one of the most athletic people. They changed their entire system to kind of like a modified 6'2" to have her set in the back row and hit in the front row. And she's a freshman coming in. And that is something that is so difficult to do at this high of a level because when you think about it, especially down the line, Parks is only getting half the reps in everything. She's only getting half the reps setting. She's only getting half the reps hitting. When they're playing in practice, she's only taking half of what she should be. So to be able to compete at that high of a level, I think is so impressive. I mean, to me, she's hands down the most athletic player I think I've seen. Maybe aside from Reese Animashon from Vanderbilt, who's also an outside that was setting. But man, I mean, just fun players across the board.
Yeah, no, and I was real impressed with how good everybody looked this early. Nobody looked.
And Vanderbilt, come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've
Did
had
you watch that
Vanderbilt
game?
should have been the most ready of any team when you
What?
think about how long they've been together.
I know. That's what Ulmer was saying with Kansas. He was like, we're in the same spot right now, except they've had 2 years to practice. But
Well,
I love, honestly, like I got so many texts during that match, and I was like, scrolling Twitter, and it's fun that everyone's just fallen in love with this Vanderbilt team because there's no reason not to like them. The way that they play, they are so fast. They're not a tall team by any means, but their offense is lightning quick. They run a crazy system where they have in two rotations their outside hitter setting, and not just setting out a system, like she's setting middle attack. She's probably, again, one of the most athletic people that I think I've seen in a while. And just like the systems that they run, Anders Nelson is like one of the greatest guys, and it was fun to watch them. And I get to call their two matches this weekend too, so I'm excited for that.
yeah, no, because you're going there. We'll get to that, right? Like you said. So I on Saturday morning, I got up at 4 o'clock in Singapore, and at 5 o'clock had a taxi to the airport, and then a 6 hour flight from Singapore to Seoul, a layover, and then from Seoul to Minneapolis. And I got to Minneapolis and hustled to the Sky Club and got right on Fox Sports and was able to watch most of the Penn State Creighton match.
Mhm.
And what I was really happy to see how good Creighton looked. You know,
Yeah.
I think Ava Martin is got to be considered one of the better players in the country, and they looked really well coached. And obviously, they lost a lot, and I'm not,
Yeah.
not putting them in for anything past a round of 16 at this point, but really, really good match for them, even though they got swept by Penn State.
Yeah, I agree. I think they held in there, especially that being the first match of the season. And it's funny that and we were talking to Coach Rosen about this, but it's funny how people overlook Ava Martin. And I know obviously those of us that follow the sport, you and I included, have always talked very highly of her. But I think she goes unnoticed because a player like Nora Sis is overshadowing her, despite Martin last season finishing top five in in her conference in kills per set, first in aces per set, ninth in hit percentage, like all of these things that on any other team would make you a star player. But when you're playing right next to a player like Nora Sis, one of the best to ever come through Creighton, along with Kendra Waite, who got a lot of, recognition. It just weirdly, she flew under the radar for a lot of people, rightfully so. It's a program like Creighton. It's not a power conference team, but I'm excited that she's kind of getting her moment and is doing really well.
Well, the team that we haven't seen yet is Texas, that I really can't wait to see, and I'll see them in Wisconsin this
Yeah.
week. I'll see Kansas again, and then I'll get to see Creighton in person. And Brenda's coming with me, and we've got a real nice dinner planned for the off day Saturday because it's our wedding anniversary. Can I show a girl a good time or what? Huh? Take her to a bar.
Heck yeah. You're
Yeah.
going to a good spot.
Well, luckily she loves volleyball, being a former volleyball coach and player.
She's the best.
Yes, she played at Tulane, for those of you wondering. And you are going to Nashville.
I'm going to Nashville. Fun weekend ahead. Honestly, so I have Friday first. Vanderbilt is playing their first ever home match, and they're doing it against Belmont, who's also in Nashville.
Oh,
You
so
know,
you've got the outdoors game?
yeah, so they're building a court in Wyatt Lawn, which is basically a big lawn in front of a beautiful building in on Vanderbilt's campus. They're building a court. All freshmen are required to go. They're doing a concert after. It's kind of like, Nebraska Stadium match minus the stadium. Like just a really cool event for this program that they're bringing in, and there's just so much hype around it. And yeah, so I'm calling that on SEC Network, and then staying in Nashville for Broadway Block Party on Sunday. So I'll be doing, honestly, Sunday's like just to take you guys behind the scenes, one of the most hectic days I think I've ever had in terms of my broadcasting career. Nebraska, Kentucky plays first, and I'm doing studio for them. Next game is Purdue, Tennessee. I'm replacing Katie because I think she has to go to the US Open. So I'll do Purdue, Tennessee with Holly and Courtney, and then Vanderbilt, Illinois, that I'm calling with Mary Wise and Eric Freed. So like three different crews, three different games on the same day.
That is nutty.
So it'll be wild.
Have you ever been to Nashville?
Yeah, so my cousin that I live with, who's basically my sister, I visited her one weekend. She lived there for like 5 years. So yeah, I mean, I love Nashville. We get this is funny. We got off our coach's call with Dave Shondell from Purdue, I don't know, an hour ago. And, we're talking volleyball, whatever. And at the end of the call, he was like, we're excited to have a fun time in Nashville. And I mean, everyone from my crew is on this, like 10 or so people. And he was like, don't have too much fun on Broadway, Emily. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, the
I'm
Nashville
pumped.
scene right now is made for Emily Ehman. I mean,
Whoa, whoa.
except for the biggest drawback though is the country music. But don't
Okay. Yeah. You
yeah,
don't have to, come on.
um,
Come on.
so I pulled up all the conferences just to go look through and see who's playing where. There,
Not a lot of big
I hadn't counted them.
matches.
That could have been, considering I only had two out of three Big Ten teams. Who knows how my math was? But I literally counted 222 matches on Friday. That
Insane.
makes me so glad that in my new life I'm not doing that roundup. Because and by the way, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to 900 Square Feet, the all volleyball email, please go in the link here on the YouTube and click on it.
Yeah.
Subscribe. It's free. I had, we both said this while we were in Lincoln. I had a handful of people say hello, introduce themselves, who recognize it, from the videos. And a couple of things was how much they appreciate 900 Square Feet, which made me very happy. And
Yeah.
then when are you and Emily going to do Zooms? And you said you got some of the same.
Yeah, well, yeah, I had a few people. I mean, I've had a few people ask me either like Twitter, Instagram. Yeah, I had a few fans in person ask about it too. I think, at this point of the season, especially when there's such a massive event like that, I think people just get so excited to continue to consume volleyball content and everything, which has been really fun. I mean, also just for and this isn't like to toot my own horn, but I think it's like crazy the amount of people that care about volleyball content right now. For example, my like EE20 countdown that we did, there were 12 videos, I think across, well, I guess there were 30 videos across like three platforms and it got over like 1 million views. So, which is like, I can't even explain to everyone how crazy that is, but a lot of people commenting on my ranking, which, whatever, I appreciate. But then, yeah, a lot of people also wanting to just consume us yapping about volleyball for 30 minutes.
Well, I mean, I looked at it and I go, are you kidding me? You didn't have Izzy Stark as your top returning, Big Ten setter over.
She looked good this weekend. Seen her in person. I was like,
She's
yeah, she's not making those freshman plays anymore.
When you think of the three young setters that are in that league, Izzy Stark, Bergen Riley, and Charlie Ferringer from Wisconsin, who I'll see this weekend. And there are others, of course, but wow.
Recounting Bergen as young still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
They're all, to me, all of you are
Yeah, fair.
So on the ACC schedule, there's a couple of intriguing. I started with that. Auburn, who I don't think anybody should sleep on this year, plays Louisville on Friday. This is Friday.
Yeah,
Um,
Auburn made some big strides last year.
SMU plays LSU. LSU's got a player named Journey Robinson, who, if you haven't
Yeah.
seen her, she's a spectacular high jumping outside hitter. Had time in the national team gym this summer, and got some international experience. She's really good. Stanford, Long Beach State is kind of intriguing, and the Big 12, um, TCU, Pitt.
Yep.
TCU, Jason Williams always has him ready. Um, so many teams are playing twice that day.
Yeah.
Like, for example, LSU also plays Baylor. Um, Kansas, Creighton. That's and Arizona, Penn State at Pitt. You know, I keep reminding myself too when we talk the way we talked about Nebraska and trying to figure things out. You got to remember how early it is. A year ago, I went to Pittsburgh to watch Pittsburgh play Penn State, and Pittsburgh crushed Penn State, swept them, and just destroyed them. And if you had told me
But
that
Izzy
day,
Stark, that was her first game.
right, but if you had told me that day Penn State was going to win the national championship, I'd have go,
Yeah,
police, police.
for sure.
No. So the Big Ten. Um, I'm sure you have your own notes on Big Ten games.
Yeah,
What?
I mean, some of the ones that you said, Wisconsin, Kansas to open up Friday, I think that'll be fun because Kansas, if Kansas's first match was against Wisconsin, I would have said Wisconsin will probably take them pretty easily. Just, I know Wisconsin has new faces, but when you have Mimi Collier, Carter Booth, and Furbringer, I think it's a massive advantage. And Kansas's right side, the 6'7" Zelenovic, I think was not very good that first match. She got a lot better. But I think now that Kansas has had two matches under their belt, I think this is actually going to be really interesting on Friday opening up. And they're playing at Kohl Center, which will be really, really fun. And then, yeah, Penn State, Arizona State, like you said, that's going to be in Pittsburgh. Nebraska, Kentucky on Sunday, I think is like one of the biggest matches that
Are you
everyone's got
getting
to pay
past
attention
Friday?
to.
Nebraska at Libby. Nebraska is going to Lipscomb.
They're
And,
going there because it's close.
well, it's a payback game too, probably. But yeah, but still, Nashville, the hub of
Yeah,
volleyball this weekend. Yeah.
who knew?
The SEC. What do we got? What do we got here? Friday. Scrolling.
Wisconsin, Texas on Sunday.
Yeah, I was just trying to see. Oh, Missouri and James Madison on Friday. James Madison's always a good Sun Belt team. Texas A&M Rice could be really good stuff.
A&M looks good. I think that'll be,
Yeah, a lot of teams like I say they played either twice on Friday or twice on Saturday. That's why there's so many games on the schedule. Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So you told me that your day is so busy that you can't even stay long, and we can't even yak about things that don't matter. Of course,
I don't think anyone wants to hear us yap about things that don't matter. I've got to get my one of my nails fixed that chipped. I got to pack. I got to finish notes for tomorrow's calls. I've got dumb stuff that I got to do. And I'm leaving tomorrow morning for Nashville. And I go straight to practices. We're back. We're like fully back at it, which honestly a week ago I was panicking about. I was like, I'm not ready to do this, and here we are doing it.
I tell you what, the last I mean, so glad that we saw each other in Lincoln, albeit briefly, and that we were able to do this because truly, neither of us are complaining, but the schedules have just been nuts. I went to Singapore to play World Masters water polo, flew home, like I said, from when I left that Sky Club in Minneapolis, watching that Creighton Penn State match, then
Yeah.
got on a plane to Omaha, spent the night, and then early the next morning was in a rental car driving to Lincoln so that I could watch the two Sunday games.
Yeah. It was like me coming home from Poland, landing at 10 a.m.,
Right this summer.
6 hour time change, and then waking up at 5 a.m. to get to media days the next
Yeah,
morning.
yeah, and don't come see me because I'm really sick, she said, which is good.
Yeah, I went straight to the doctor. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, so then Monday morning, put together 900 square feet, and then jumped in the car and drove up to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which was the
I
speed
mean,
limit. The speed limit on I-29 in South Dakota is 80.
that's so nice. I mean, there's nothing up there. What's going to hit you?
Yeah, so and this town has this unbelievable arena, and they took this great big open area, and it's got all these great sports facilities. They attract people there, and they have
Nice.
hotels. Except that it's in Sioux
Are
Falls.
you aware why we were there? Like, why was the fourth day there? Why was it not in Lincoln?
Yeah,
I
trying
never
to
got an answer.
growing the game. South
Okay,
Dakota has
sure.
a lot of youth volleyball, and of course, remember the last undefeated team in Division One last year, South Dakota State. Go Jackrabbits!
You're right. You're right.
Dakota has been a Summit League power for years and years, and no, a lot of volleyball comes out of it. Of
No,
course,
super, super fair. I'm more thinking logistically because a lot of the people that were in Lincoln had to, like, behind the scenes event people like hightailed it up, and it just seemed like a headache for them. But I mean, the event seemed awesome there. It looked really good on TV. The crowd looked awesome.
very much.
No shade to South Dakota. It just felt random.
Yeah, and so I've written this and said it, but high fives to Jamie Gordon and
Yeah,
Matt Henderson and all the other people from the AVCA for putting on the first serve and not just doing that,
for sure.
conducting super efficiently exciting, well done sporting events and involving three different network entities,
Mhm.
ESPN, Fox, and the Big Ten Network, and that was really cool.
You know what I loved were the timeout rules. I
Hey,
was questioning at first, but oh my God. So they took timeouts if you didn't watch or wasn't like really paying attention. It was automatic timeouts at point 10, point 20, and then each coach gets one 30-second timeout. Oh my God, it sped things up. It was awesome.
But the one time with that first match Sunday when Dan Fisher had burned his timeout early, and he
Yeah,
was just dying a slow death because he couldn't stop the bleeding because he had no
I
timeout.
know.
But
That's you got to
yeah,
be tactical. Honestly, I absolutely loved it. I
not
thought it
bad.
sped things up. I thought it was like good breaks in the game. Yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed that.
I
I
love
also just love having Bolt 6. It's the nicest thing ever.
you're taking the words right out of my mouth. You beat me to it. The Bolt Six was fantastic. I mean, that's the way to go. It's just that, yeah. So we'll be watching matches this year. We'll go back to having it take 12 minutes to decide a touch call.
Yeah, and I will continue to bitch about it. Or sorry, I'll continue to complain about it
Bitch and
on
complain. I
air.
this. Yes. Well, I promised Emily I'd get her out of here. So glad that you got to do this. So glad we got to visit. So glad that you watched. Please sign up for 900 Square Feet, the email. Please follow at Emily Ehman on every social media known to mankind and watch lots of volleyball. And maybe next week we can start getting back into our either Monday or Tuesday schedule. We'll see how things
Yeah,
go. All
for
right.
sure. I think I travel back from you probably travel Tuesday, right? Because they're playing.
I'm coming back Monday, Labor Day.
Cool. I come back Monday too, so we'll chat.
Shoot for Tuesday. All right. Bye. Thanks,
All
everybody.
right.